That's why I love what you're doing, man. I know, man, you are loving what you're doing. You're
yes, indeed.
And you're excited about it, man. You got Robert Watkins on. How do you do that? I don't even know how you do that.
This is a blessing.
Your passion touched me. Your passion went and got me. You know what I'm saying?
I love
and guess
that.
what, man? Me and I are friends, man. We're going to do business together.
Yes,
man.
we are.
We're going to covenant together. We share the same mentor, Miles Monroe.
That's
man,
right.
We have a lot in common. But listen, for those who feel like they're stuck, for those who feel like they can't get to that level of wealth, I'm telling you, it's there. Yes. Just do the principles we talked about. Partner, listen to this great podcast over and over again. Follow Andrew, follow his page, and get the knowledge. And what's going to happen when it's your time, you're going to be prepared, and you're going to have all these things we talked about, not being selfish, sowing a seed, being vulnerable, being real. Yes. And listen, looking at the things you do have and not the things you don't have. And you're going to be in a great position to see your name on a title that you own.
This is the interview that you have got to go back and listen to again and again and again. It's the moment you've been waiting for. It's a conversation that must be had today and not tomorrow. Welcome to another episode of I'm Listening, I'm Ready with your host, Andrew E. Guy. Let's talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew E. Guy with the Ilirpodcast. I'm listening, I'm ready. It is a podcast that's dedicated for those who are on the go, whether you're traveling by land, air, or sea. This is me, Andrew E. Guy in the MORNING. I am truly excited about today's show. I know it. Every week I bring the thunder. Every week we bring the energy to get you out of that spot where you feel like you're comfortable. This is not the year for being comfortable. It is time to disrupt everything that you think that was normal, to set you straight, because remember, 2020, everyone's vision was open. Everyone was seeing 2020. But now it's 2021, and we're asking ourselves our question is this: what will you do next? 2021 is like starting over again. What is your next move? And to kick this off, I am talking with none other than a great friend of mine all the way down from ATL, we call it ATL, Atlanta, Georgia. It is the man himself. He is the guru. I'm telling you, he is the financial wizard that is disrupting everyone who thought they didn't know how to make money. I know I'm going to give you a little bit about who he is. We're talking about none other than Dr. Robert J. Watkins. Dr. Watkins was recognized by former President Barack Obama with the exclusive Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. Dr. Robert J. Watkins is far from being your ordinary entrepreneur. He's known as the empire builder, among many other things. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the Ilirpodcast, Dr. Robert J. Watkins. Dr. Watkins, say what's up to the people.
Well, hello, everyone, man. Just a blessing to be here. Thank you for having me. I can't wait to get into this, man. Disrupting Normalcy, boy. What a great title. You got the right guy on talking to you.
Doc, I have to tell you, man, the fellas up here, they're so pumped. There's so much great things you're doing out there. And I'm talking about the rise of man. Now, we're talking about disrupting normalcy. When we talk about disrupting normalcy, there's so many people that are so comfortable with where they are. You know, they got a job, they got a little ride, they got a car. Food is on the table. What are some of the mindset that you're running into with your years of experience that you think that people need to disrupt in order to get to the next level?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. You know, when we talk about disruption, what is that, right? And I always start with the men, then I start with the women. So with the men, you're right. You mentioned my program, my men's accountability program called The Rise of a Man. And the way we disrupt a man's life, to disrupt the normalcy, we're like, listen, stop lying, stop hiding, and stop dodging, right? Lying, hiding, and dodging. And we learned that early on as boys. Yes. And but when we grow up and going into a marriage relationship or a business or a professional career, a lot of us, we still have that on the inside. So I deal with the core of a man, the way a man thinks. The Bible talks about as a man thinketh, so is he. Yes. And so we want to make sure that he knows who he really is, his real purpose, the reason why he was born and created. And we take him back to that spot. And it may not have anything to do with his profession or his education or his status. And that's why a lot of men are unhappy. A lot of men are making other people unhappy, even though he's a great provider.
Wow.
Even though he has a job and a car, as you said, food on the table.
Yes.
He's loving his wife, man. He is making her happy. But on the inside, that little boy is fearful. He's driving around in that new car, afraid that the repo man, here in the United States, we call him the repo man, because he may get behind on the car notes,
yes,
or maybe behind on the mortgage. And so he's full of fear, but he has a smile on the outside. So we disrupt that man by saying, we understand.
Yes.
So stop faking the funk, stop, putting on a fake smile, and we become proficient in the fake and the phony, as I call it. And that's not real success. Real success is doing what's in your heart and getting paid for it. Mm-hmm. And we make small adjustments in their character. And man, we've been getting great results all around the world in many different countries. So I've been doing this for about 15 years, but I've been dealing with men, and we've been getting great results.
I'm excited about this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to me for the first time, again, this is Andrew E. Guy with the Ilirpodcast. I'm sitting down, I'm talking with, I am being educated. I'm being disrupted as we speak by Dr. Watkins. I'm talking about, this man is a bestseller. The best-selling book that you have got to check out is Never Chase a Paycheck Again. That's right, never chase it. In other words, Dr. Watkins is saying it will chase you.
That's right. Absolutely.
He is the founder of several companies. I'm talking about robertjwatkins.com. And in his counseling company, is serviced over 500 companies, facilitated over $20 million in investable dollars for startup. And his consulting company is ConquerWorldwide. Now, Dr. Watkins, one of the things that we're trying to get men, especially to disrupt that sense of normalcy, is that the world is actually bigger than they think, but reaching their goal is smaller than they think. Can you help them understand? You talk about the fear, and we're both men of faith. And when we talk about when Jesus said, fear not, right? Zig Ziglar said, fear is false evidence appearing real. How do we get them past this? Oh, my bill is real, my car note is real, but I shouldn't fear not. How do we disrupt that normalcy of what they were told? Yes, fear it because it's here. And how do I get to what I don't see?
Well, listen, it doesn't matter where you start off in life.
Yes.
It matters where you end up in life.
Love it.
Listen, I've never met my birth mother before, never met my birth father before, have no idea who they are. Wow. When I was born in this earth, I was turned over to the state of Michigan as an orphan. I started off in life in an orphanage. Wow. Can you imagine feeling abandoned? You're talking about fear. Your own mama doesn't want you. Your own daddy doesn't. Nobody's coming to get you. Nobody's coming to rescue you. You feel as though every minute, every breath you take, you are on your own. And that's how I felt until I was adopted. And what I found out through that adoption, that eventually when I found the Lord, I found out that I was adopted into the family of God.
Yes.
So really in my mindset was I had to now stop thinking that I'm abandoned. Now nobody wants me, nobody likes me, nobody cares about me. I'm going to die lonely. I'm going to die broke. I'm going to die of some disease. What a lot of people in that orphanage did, a lot of them are in jail even today. Yes. A lot of them are broken and full of disease. But the difference between me and them was my mindset.
Yes. And
my mindset was, man, when I came to God, I found myself in the Bible, which says I am a king and a priest. So the first thing that I will tell people out there, identify who you really are.
Yes.
And for me, I was a king and a priest. Now, at the time, I was a janitor. I worked at a post office in Carrollton, Georgia, in the United States, in a small post office. My job was cleaning the urinals.
Wow.
That was my job. And so back then, even then, I had a king mindset.
Yes.
So in my heart, I knew that I don't know how I'm going to get off this job. I don't know how I'm going to become a millionaire. I don't know how I'm going to become an owner of commercial real estate. I don't know how I'm going to make my first million. I don't know how I'm going to get married. I don't know how to do this thing in life. But all I know is my mind needs to line up with what's in my heart.
Yes.
So I had to stop thinking like I was an orphan and start thinking like I was a millionaire. So that's why you have to call those things that be not as though they were. I had to start speaking over myself in the mirror and say, man, you are a king. You are a priest, man. You have value. And that's what I was telling myself. And you know what? I convinced myself as such. Now, some people may say, well, that sounds arrogant. Well, that sounds like you're cocky. No, I'm confident in what's in my heart. That's where it starts. And if you don't have that, then you'll end up in places where you're not valued. So here's what I would tell a lot of people who are listening right now. Here's the first principle I want them to get. Never stay where you're not valued.
Absolutely.
Never stay. You've heard me say this before.
Yes,
Never
I've heard that several times.
Never stay on a job. Never stay. You have a job for two reasons: to get seed and to get experience.
Yes.
To eventually go to do what's in your heart. That's why I love what you're doing, man. I know, man, you are loving what you're doing.
Yes, indeed.
And you're excited about it, man. You got Robert Watkins on. How do you do that? I don't even know how you do that.
This is a blessing.
Your passion touched me. Your passion went and got me. You know what I'm saying?
I love
and guess
that.
what, man? You and I are friends, man. We're going to do business together.
Yes,
man,
we are.
We're in a covenant together. We share the same mentor, Miles Monroe.
That's
man,
right.
We have a lot in common. But listen,
yes,
what brought us together?
Yes.
Your identity in Christ, your passion to succeed, and you are not afraid to reach out and not get stung.
I love it.
And so these things become a part of you. So somewhere in life, all the way from Jamaica to Canada, somewhere in your life, a shift took place in your life, and they say, you know what? I am a king. I am better than maybe where I came from. Now, which means now you got to surround yourself with people on the same mission as you, on the same path as you.
Yes.
I'll tell you this story about Miles Monroe, and I know you have a great story.
Talk about it.
I remember I wrote my first book, How to Hear from God.
Yes.
And back then they were doing something called the Christian Booksellers Association. Yes. And this is back in 1994. And his booth was next to mine. And he had like a line going out the door, around the corner, down the street, a mile.
That's right.
And his booth, people trying to get his signature. Me, I had one little old lady who didn't even want to take my book.
Wow.
But the way that God worked it out, this should show you when you're walking in your purpose.
Yes.
I said, I didn't know how I was going to get to where I am today. Mm-hmm. But the Bible says that a good man, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. I just wrote down what I knew about God's word. I wrote it in a book called How to Hear from God. Yes. And the publisher ended up inviting me to this conference. Now, so that afternoon, all of a sudden, everybody was gone. And it was just me and Miles Monroe standing there.
He cleared the way just for you.
I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And here's something that Miles said. You know how Miles talks.
Yes, I know how he talks.
He said, brother.
Yes.
Brother, one day you and I will share the stage.
Wow.
You know, he's real dramatic like that.
That's it.
Now, who am I? I'm just like this little orphan boy, janitor, just happened to write a book. And he said, he and I are going to share the stage one day. Now, listen to this. True story.
Yes.
That was 1994. In 2004, I got a speaking engagement to speak at a church called New Birth. Mm-hmm. Bishop Eddie Long used to have a conference called Spirit and Truth. It was T.D. Jakes. It was John Maxwell, Miles Monroe, and Robert Watkins.
Are you serious?
And Robert Watkins. And Miles Monroe was there.
Yes.
And I got a chance to see him in the back. I said, do you remember you met me at the Christian Bookseller Association and I had just wrote a book and nobody wanted to buy my book because they were spending all their money with you? Do you remember what you said to me? He said, I remember, brother. Mm-hmm. I said, I told you. I said, man, we're sharing the stage. Your prophecy has come to pass. But listen, if I was fearful, it never would have happened.
It's a blessing.
If I was a scaredy cat, oh my gosh, who's going to buy my book? I'm not going to do this. I'd be stuck right in that orphanage or back in that bathroom cleaning oils.
Wow. Dr. Watkins, I'm telling you, the stories, the alignment, the similarities that we have are, it's out of this world, literally, because I know that we're going to get a chance to sit down and break bread and share stories because they're so similar.
Yeah.
My background too, I grew up in Jamaica, but I grew up in foster homes. My parents left when I was about 6 years old, put me to bed. I got up in the morning and there I was. No mama, no daddy. They were gone. They left to come to Canada so they can prepare a place for me, right? And me and my other siblings. And it was the foster homes.
Yeah.
For 11 years, I was in foster homes, from foster home to foster homes.
Wow.
And it came to the point where, I lost hope. I lost hope because of what they kept telling me. I'm not going to make it. Your mama ran off and she's never coming back. She just didn't want you, right? And somehow, I remember what she said. She said, I'll be back. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, I go to prepare a place and I will return. And where I am, you will be there. And I remember my mom telling me that, Dr. Watkins, and I held on to that one thing, I will be back. Later on, I learned that from the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where it said, I'll be back, right?
Back, right.
But the issue is here to get people to understand that you will cross path in life that you never really think it were possible, but because you keep on telling yourself that all things are possible. And I'm not saying it from a religious perspective, because when you talk about speaking that thing, I wrote a book called Work Your Words. And it came about because I was teaching in Jacksonville, Florida, and I had these children that they said were write-offs. They said that, they will never make it. They're at-risk kids. I said, okay, then I saw they got to work a different word. They said, Mr. Guy, we from the hood. We ain't going to make it. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. There's nothing good come from here. I said, you're going to make it. Kept working the same word and telling them. Some of them are now in university texting me, Mr. Guy, thank you for saying that. And I said that because a lot of people are not working the right words. When Dr. Miles Monroe said you're going to share the stage, you got to take that word as a seed and you got to work that word also. One of the things where I believe that people's become so conditioned to what's happening normally, said, oh, well, I'm a Black person. I'm a man of color. We don't own businesses. We're not millionaires. We're not billionaires. And if we are, we're far and few between. Aside from knowing who you are, knowing is half the battle, right? What do we tell them now to disrupt that normalcy to say, yeah, but the great Bruce Lee once said, knowledge, if you don't use it, is nothing, right? What do we say to our youth and to our young Black men especially? How do we get to that next level? What do you need to do next? What's our next step when we got to know who we are? What do we do next?
Yeah, and then you have to express who you are.
Yes.
You have to then begin to line your life up with your identity.
Yes.
You got to disrupt your own life.
Yes.
You're following. So for me, going to the club, that's where my guys went. That's what the fraternity guys did.
Yes.
That's how they spent their Friday nights, Saturday nights, chasing women, drinking, getting high, going to clubs, doing it all over again. No, I needed to disrupt that.
Yes.
So I was studying, reading books. I was trying to write books. I was looking at seminars. I was educating myself on Friday night.
Yes.
And now, because I couldn't articulate who I was, so I had to educate myself.
Yes.
And I know, I had to study to show myself approved. So a king owns land.
Yes.
So I needed to learn something about land.
Yes.
A king has resources. So I needed to learn something about money. You can't learn that at the club.
No.
You can't learn that, being drunk. You can't learn that, going places. So you have to now position yourself to go the opposite direction.
Correct.
Of the crowd. And that is called leadership. So you can't lead something that you're part of the problem.
Correct.
And so in order for me to disrupt somebody else's life, I had to disrupt my own life. And that starts with expressing who you are. That's why now everything that I do, it from writing books to blogs, to even this very conversation,
yes,
business, my consulting company, my real estate holdings, it's all an expression of my identity.
Absolutely love it.
And I've told people that knowledge, man. And here's the thing. Knowledge is not the key to success.
No.
It's wisdom is the key to success.
Correct.
Wisdom is the ability to use knowledge.
Apply.
That's called
Application.
power.
Yes, sir.
Power
Yes,
is
sir.
when you have knowledge and you know how to express it.
Absolutely love it.
That's power.
You know, I gave a talk last year sometime. I went to Orlando, Florida, and they were talking about people skills. Some were talking about the statistic. Some were talking about change management. But the whole conference was about change management. And I went in there with the mindset, I said, okay, fine, I see the statistic. I saw the numbers, but they weren't talking about the most important P, that is people. How do we impact people? I said, it's about the people. It's not about the statistic. Because if the people are not in check, if they don't know who they are, and if they don't know how they fit into the big picture of accomplishing the project, then you have nothing. So what I'm hearing you saying is that we need to have an understanding of who we are. We not just don't know only have to have this understanding, but how do we apply the knowledge that we have gained? I've had like about 10 of Pastor Miles' book downstairs, but if I don't apply it for the kingdom, then I'm just a listener. I'm not a doer. Yeah. Do you think that our people are lacking this attribute of doing? And to what extent do we perpetuate what the world or what society said about us? And how can we disrupt that?
Well, inaction is the mother of all failure.
Yes.
So for me, when God spoke that I was a king and a priest, when I found my identity,
yes,
I needed to find out. We mentioned people. Are there other people who think like this?
I absolutely love
that. And I began to think about a king, somebody who's in the marketplace,
yes,
a priest, someone who loves God.
Yes.
That was very unique. So here's what I did to disrupt that the religious status that was going on around me.
Yes.
Nobody in the church was talking about business. At the time, nobody in the church was talking about business that I was going. And so what I did, I started an organization. And it was a Bible study for Christian businessmen. I didn't even know that there was a term called marketplace ministries or marketplace leadership. I didn't know Miles Monroe. I didn't have a relationship with John Maxwell and all these guys. And so I invited 8 men to come to a little clubhouse here in Douglasville, Georgia. And these guys came. They said, well, what are we going to talk about? I said, I don't really know. I'm just expressing myself, right?
You're here.
I'm going to share with them my identity. I'm expressing myself now.
Yes.
I say, well, I'm this weird guy. I like business, but I like the word. And come to find out, all the guys there said the same thing. Now, there was a pastor that was there in the room. He had just built a small church and he ran out of money to build pews, to have pews. He didn't have a place for people to sit. Wow. He needed another $11,000. Well, when I said, does anybody have anything to say? He talked about his vision. There was another guy that was there. He said, well, you need $11,000. I just got a big bonus. I'm going to sow this into your life.
Wow.
That was the king, the marketplace minister, a business person, and the priest, a pastor, working together.
Yes.
And so that came out of me starting something. Today we have over 17,000 members.
Wow.
Our last conference, we had 9,000 people. Bishop T.D. Jakes was my speaker. We've had Creflo Dollar there. We've had just a who's who that have come through, kings and priests. And it started with me getting over my fear as an orphan, to me writing the vision down, to me starting small, despise not the small things,
right,
and then working that plan to where I am today. And I thank God for that. And so now I can express myself to literally millions of people, but I had to start to be faithful over the 8 people that was in front of me.
Wow. Do you think that people are looking at the stairs without taking the steps? And how frequent do they keep doing that? And what is the ramification of looking at the stairs without taking the steps? I know it seemed like a basic question, but a lot of people looking at the stairs, it looks so insurmountable. Like, I can't get there. You know, the stair is everything that I've seen out there, other people doing the big thing. But look at me. How do I get there? Can you talk to us a little bit about the steps? Remember, we said that the steps of a righteous man, right, is guided, guarded, or basically cut out by God himself. How do we help people to understand, get out of fear and step out?
Yeah. Well, there was a company here in the States, based out of the States, called Blockbuster some years ago. If you remember.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, I remember they had VCRs. They thought VCRs was going to be here forever.
That's right.
Videotapes. And this is before Netflix came on board. And they thought they were going to be around forever. And they invested a lot of money in the leases. And they were in every major city in the United States, really in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yes, they were.
They were charging people extra money for not rewinding them and charging them late fees if they came back. But they didn't change with times.
No, they did not.
So when Netflix came, so we have a lot of mentality. Well, the mentality is you have a Blockbuster mentality in a Netflix world.
Love that. Love it.
So Netflix figured out the innovation and the technology that goes along in that industry, which is the home-based entertainment industry.
Yes.
They came into the industry with new revelation, new innovation, and did it better and took out the big gorilla that was in the world. Because back then, Blockbuster was doing billions of dollars back then.
They were everywhere. All over Canada.
And so here's the thing. They grew so big the wrong way. When it was time to change, they were so big that they couldn't turn. It's like a battleship.
Yes.
A battleship takes, in many cases, 24 hours to turn around and go the opposite direction. Wow. So they were so landlocked that it was easy for disruption to come into that industry. So what I will say to the people that are watching is likewise in your own life.
Correct.
And I know you, man, you're a podcaster, you're a communicator, you're an author, you're a husband, man. And I know your family is growing, your business is growing, man.
Yes,
God's been able to bring you millions, billions of dollars because you have been faithful, and he's doing it because you're not afraid. Money can't come to people who are afraid. Mm-hmm. When I grew up in Detroit, they said, scared money don't win. If you go into Vegas to try to win money, if you're fearful, you're not gonna take any risks. And so we have to be in a position to do what I call the "oh no, he didn't move." Mm. And so what's gonna make you stand out is when people say, "Oh no, Andrew didn't." Mm. Oh no, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Fill in the blank.
Yes.
So your next move should be that. But if you're afraid and your foot is stuck to the floor and all you want to do is what other people are doing, you want to sound like other people, you want to look like other people, well, the best you can ever be is number 2, and that's never a fun position.
Never a fun position. Never a fun position. I want to tell the people a little bit more as we drop this bio here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you listen to me for the first time, you listen to Andrew E. Guy on the Ilirpodcast. I'm listening. I'm ready. It is the podcast that's dedicated for those who are on the go. Whether you are traveling by land, air, or sea, I'm talking with Dr. Watkins all the way from ATL. And I'm telling you, the knowledge that he's dropping today, I hope that you've gotten a bigger hard drive because what you have is not working. Your Blockbuster mentality is not working, all right? You need to get on this other side of the next flick. You understand? Next flick, your next step has got to be bigger than your Blockbuster. And it shouldn't take you 24 hours just to turn around and go into the next direction when you see something is not working. Our goal here is to help disrupt your normalcy, to help you to understand who you are, whose you are, your gift, your skill, your expertise, and your talent, and how to use those to serve in the marketplace. But before you can do that, you have got to understand who you are. Got to know that there's a creator that created you, that makes you a creative being, and you're blessed by your creativity. Does that make sense? So if you're listening, I want to make sure you get this information. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am dealing with right here, because I don't think you get it. I don't want you to think, oh, this is just another interview. This is the interview that you have got to go back and listen to again and again and again. Now, I am really thankful to have the opportunity to sit down and speak to this gentleman right here. I have watched tons of his videos online. I'm telling you, I'm sitting there, I'm like, and I told my wife, and I said, one of these days I'm going to interview that gentleman. And I'm like, she's like, I said, I'm going to interview that gentleman right there. I don't know when, but it's going to happen, right? So she's downstairs right now, and she's listening to me having too much fun up here. And we're going to have a whole night talking about this tonight. But I'm talking to Dr. Watkins. Dr. Watkins is a graduate of the University of West Georgia, where he received his Bachelor's of Arts and degree of Mass Communication and Journalism. Dr. Watkins became a member of the elite Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. He received his honorary doctorate degree in both business and theology from the Ministry of International Institute in honor of his excellent entrepreneurial education. Even with all of his accomplishment and accolades, if you ask him today, he will quickly tell you he is most proud and honored to be given a blessing of fatherhood with his 2 straight A daughters, Noelle, am I saying that right, sir?
Noelle. Yes.
Noelle and Gabrielle. So, Doc, with that being said, I want to switch. I want to take a 24-hour turn and turn it into 10 seconds. I want to jump into fatherhood, right? That's one of the things that I cherish because as a guy that grew up in a foster home in an island that, I'm supposed to know more about, tourists know more about the island than I do myself. And when I look at my 2 sons and my conversations with Dr. Miles Monroe and stuff, I still have his last email that he sent me before, he passed away. I have a picture of him just putting his arms around my 2 boys like this. Wow. And I cherish that picture. It's amazing. But can you help our brothers? Yes, I want all men to hear this, but I want to deal with the house that's on fire, because you call the 911, they're not going to stop at the house where there's no fire. Our homes as Black men are on fire right now. Black life matters, but not every life basically is needing for the fire truck to show up. Can you speak into the lives of our Black father about their importance of being a foundation in the home?
Yeah, one of the fights that even in my struggle,
yes,
is struggling to stay in the house emotionally.
Yes.
And staying there with my daughters emotionally.
Yes.
And, I was a boy. I didn't have any sisters. I didn't grow up around girls. So when I had girls, it was a real fight for me to stay there. And so one of the things that broke that,
yes,
so I wouldn't be insensitive. So I wouldn't treat them, so I can treat them as the queens that they are.
Yes, sir.
I had to become, watch this word now, I had to become vulnerable. Because no one talks to men about being vulnerable. And that's the first thing, one of the first words in my mentorship program. Yes. I teach men how to be vulnerable, because one of the first lessons that we learn as a boy, including me, who I played sports, I played football. And the first lesson that I was taught was, when you get hit, boy, you better not cry. Yes. Get up and go hit somebody. Yes. Get up and inflict pain on someone. Go tackle somebody. Go hit somebody. Well, that doesn't work in real life.
No, it doesn't.
Okay? So men have not been taught how to hurt. And so when men get hurt, that turns into anger, because no one taught that man how to be vulnerable and to say, you know what, baby, I'm hurting. You know what? Your words hurt me.
Yes.
You know what? And so now, because we become angry, either we lash out and ruin everything, or we start covering it up and harboring it. And then now you become lonely. And what happens is vices are waiting for you.
Correct.
Pornography,
yes,
illicit relationships, spending money unnecessarily, having the wrong relationships, lying, yes, hiding, and dodging. All of that is with a man who has been diagnosed with loneliness and aloneness because he refuses to be vulnerable.
Yes.
And that is the very thing that his family needs from him. And because no one's taught that man that, no one's talked to him that way, he becomes angry and upset and mad at his own life and starts blaming his whole environment when he is the problem.
Wow.
And so how do we break that? Yes, we break it with prayer, we break it, but what are some of the steps that man needs to do? First of all, be vulnerable to himself. Man, I'm hurting. Yes. Secondly, man, this is my mistake. Take responsibility for it. Yes. Number 3, love the people who are standing with you.
Yes.
If she's still in the house, even though she's mad at you, even though she's not talking to you, that's because of you.
That's right.
Every man is made as an initiator.
Yes.
Every part of a man is made to take initiative. Every part of a woman is made to receive.
Yes.
And so if you want to receive love, then you got to give love to that woman. And we heard Miles Monroe say this a million times.
Yes.
If you give a woman, she's going to
double it.
She's going to give it back to you 1,000 times better.
That's exactly right.
With a little love, you're going to get 1,000 times worth of love back.
Correct.
But the man is the seed sower.
Yes.
The man carries that seed.
Yes.
But if you're in pride and arrogance, you got it all together, well, your life will end. And I'm telling you, I'm talking from experience.
Yes.
I was married, and I was married for 20 years. And I take responsibility for that my marriage ended. And I had to say, I had to look back and say, wow, I could have been vulnerable here. But today, my 2 daughters, and my oldest daughter goes to an Ivy League school in Boston. My youngest daughter is on her way to Georgia Tech here in the United States. And they're doing fantastic.
Congratulations.
I had to turn my life around.
Yes.
And now I'm engaged to be married to a beautiful woman, a great woman of God. And God has blessed my life, but it started with me being vulnerable. And the devil does not want you to be vulnerable, because what comes out of vulnerability is truth.
Wow. Absolutely love it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a man and you are listening to me for the first time, I'm telling you, you need to go back and rewind that. You need to go back and watch that piece again and again and again, because I believe that we're missing it. We're missing it. We've been told, part of manhood is that grunt and spit, get up and go, hit somebody, inflict pain on somebody. But I've heard it said before, hurting people hurt other people. Misery loves company. And Dr. Watkins is saying that, to be around people who are doing the same thing. Look for someone who's doing what you are doing. Are you angry? That means you're looking for others who are angry too. A lot of you, Dr. Watkins, are in gangs because they're looking for company.
Yeah.
And like me and gentlemen like yourself, we're looking for other people who are Christ-like, Christ-minded, kingdom-minded, that want to disrupt the normalcy of their everyday so we can impact them for a better tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to me, and I'm talking with Dr. Watkins. As an in-demand international speaker, Dr. Watkins' passion for people, purpose, and profit has fired up millions of men and women across the globe to not just reach, but to retain financial success. This mission has led him to founding several conferences and events under the tutelage of including Young CEO Camp and summer programs, and focuses on creating young CEOs in the youth age 11 to 19, gathering the angels, a Shark Tank style event where small businesses owners pitch their business or their next business idea for a chance to receive an instant funding for their business. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that the conversation that we're having here today is really to help you. It's really about you. It's not about me. As I've told you before, I am just a vessel. I could be a knife, fork, or a spoon. That's all I am. I'm only a utensil. And if you don't use the utensil, then the utensil is just parked in a drawer. So what I want to talk about now, Dr. Watkins, is this. There are a lot of people who are fearful. We spoke about fear, and we said that it's false evidence appearing real, as Zig Ziglar said. But you are saying they get stuck and they can't move, and they refuse to move because they're afraid of what's going to happen. My question is, have you seen that movie? It's by Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That's what it's called. It's called The Leap of Faith. And I love that particular scene because Sean Connery was in the movie, and the goal of this scene was for him to get a vial with water in it and bring it back to Sean Connery. However, there was an abyss. There was this big gorge that he has to cross over. And everyone who has come before him, fallen in, died. No one has survived. And he was the only one that was supposed to move over. The crux of this question is to say this. Indiana was scared for stepping over, but when he did manage to work up the fortitude to step over, he looked back and he had some gravel in his hand and he threw it back on the path. When something is on the path, it does not allow the path to disappear anymore. He has basically created a pathway for those who are coming behind him. Can you help our audience understand what are give me your top 5 ways that we can create a pathway or a tradition, so to speak, for the next generation to follow our example so we don't have to succumb to past tradition?
Well, number one, That's a great question, by the way, is take your mind off of yourself, off your own problems.
Yes.
And put your mind on helping other people.
Absolutely.
What that does is several things. Number one, there's a survey of centurions, people who live beyond 100 years old.
Yes.
They all had one thing in common. They served a purpose greater than themselves.
Wow.
So you can't be a selfish person and expect to succeed. Fear is associated with selfishness. I know that sounds very hard, but it is. If you put your focus on the end result, if you put your focus on the vision, what is going to happen when I do this thing? And for me, fear, whenever I did it, it was never as bad as I thought it was going to be. Okay? Never. It never is. And you know what? God is with me.
Yes.
Right? So number one, put your focus on the result, on helping other people. Number two, remind yourself of what you do have.
Yes.
Many people look at what they don't have. They don't have money. They don't have friends. They don't have support. But you know what? The number one person that is succeeding in these United States, and probably there in Canada, is Black women.
Yes.
And they're starting more businesses. They're more profitable than any other group, including white men.
That's true.
And so they're doing it without a lot of support. So these women are looking at, here's what I do have. Here's what I can do. That's number two. And then number three, which is very key, is surrounding yourself with people on the same path as you. Correct. If you hang around 9 broke people,
yes,
you certainly would be the 10th one.
That's correct.
Because association brings about assimilation.
That's correct.
That means you pick up what you hang around. So if you are hanging around people who are always saying, I'm never going to get ahead, the man is always going to keep me down, the courts don't like me. No, if you're hanging around that, whoever has access to your ears and your eyes has access to your heart.
I agree.
And so now you have a lot of doubt in your heart.
That's correct.
Now you can't do anything. That's why you're stuck, because you have the wrong belief system. So fourth thing is change your beliefs.
Change your beliefs.
You got to change your beliefs. You got to start questioning the foundation of your life. I had to question that my mother and my father abandoned me. I don't know their story.
Yes.
Maybe that was the best thing that my birth mother could have done for me. Mm-hmm. Maybe she was impoverished. Yes. Maybe she was raped. Maybe she couldn't take care of me.
Yes.
And so I had to change my story about myself. And my story was the same story as Moses.
Yes.
Moses was an orphan.
Yes, it was.
The prince of Egypt. I had to change my story.
That's right.
What I believe. I said, Lord, okay, I don't need to see a burning bush, Lord. I'm a believer. Okay? But I had to change my story.
Correct.
Right? About myself. I had to change my beliefs. I had to question it. So what that does is stop you from feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
And then here's the last one. What are you giving away?
Well,
what are you giving away? And I see this with entrepreneurs. They're so stingy. And people are eating. I call this just the principle of seed eating. You're eating your seed.
Correct.
Seed out of the bag can't help anyone.
Sure. Seed
in the ground. So there are a lot of people that are asking for prayer. I need tomatoes. Or I need money, or I need watermelons. I used to go to God and say, Lord, I need all these things. And every time I ask God about a need, he talks to me about my seed.
Yes.
So you can't expect a financial harvest if you haven't invested.
Correct.
You can't expect tomatoes if you haven't sown any tomato seeds. So a lot of people are walking around with false hope.
Yes.
False hope that $1 million is going to show up in their bank account. That's not the way it works. God is not a counterfeiter. You have to sow a seed. Just like, man, I'm sowing a seed into your life. You're sowing a seed into my life.
Yes, sir.
You're going to get a harvest, man, of men coming that are far greater than me, with far more wisdom than me, because you sowed a seed into my life.
Yes, sir.
And so that's the way it works. So if you're stingy and you are selfish, stingy, selfish people always stay stuck. And you know who they are, because they're always complaining about people who are sowing seeds and people who are givers.
You know, when you're talking, I am only thinking about the three, the parable of the talents, and the one that had the one: fearful, stingy, and selfish. And that's exactly what happened. And I love the part that even God said, he said, even what you think you have will be taken from you. And so I'm excited about this. I know that your time is very valuable, and I'm going to give these people a little bit more about it because I want them to go and get everything that you have. I want them to go over there and check you out at robertjwatkins.com. I want you to go check him out at ConquerWorldwide.com, and I want you to go and check this man out at theriseofaman.com. So men, fellas, brothers, as we say in Jamaica, my brother, I want you to go and check this man out. You understand? I want you to go check this man out right now. So I know you guys are listening to me right now. So remember what we always say: I'm listening, I'm ready. That's what Iler means. Iler means I'm listening and I am ready to take action to change your life. No one is going to come in and change it for you. You have to take the action. And that's what we're trying to help you to get today. We're talking about disrupting your normalcy and a sense of value. How do you establish a sense of value for your personal identity and knowing your worth in the global marketplace? Dr. Watkins, it is time for our Think, Fire, and Shoot. Okay. And so basically what this is, I'll ask you 4 questions and you got 15 seconds per question, and you're going to give me your best shot at what you got. And I'm going to put the timer on the clock.
Timer. Okay. You know, our speakers, we need a timer.
Time is the master. All right. So I'm going to put the timer on the clock. I got the clock ready to rock and roll. And the first question, before we start, we're just going to ask you to kind of say who you are and probably in a sentence or two about what you do and where people can find you. And then we're going to start the Think, Fire, Shoot. All right. Okay. So ready to rock and roll. So, and your name. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to start now. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Robert Watkins, CEO of ConquerWorldwide.com. And we provide financial stability and business advice to small and large businesses. And we help people start bed and breakfasts and real estate investors. And we provide all of the consulting and funding that you need to launch your business and your ministry. All right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have the man himself on the line, and we're talking with Dr. Watkins. It's time for Think, Fire, and Shoot. All right, Dr. Watkins, question number one. If you didn't make it to where you are today, what would you have been doing with your life? Go. Well, I would definitely be in an orphanage taking care of orphan boys, because that's where I started. That's exactly where I would be. All right, 9.92 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. We got to turn up the stove a little bit more. You know, we got to heat it up. We got to turn up. It was on medium. We have to turn this up. Yeah, we got to turn this up a little hotter because, you know, a man of this caliber, we got to have to keep it hot. So we just turned it up a little hotter. All right. So, Doc, when we talk about future versus present versus past, I have this quote that's coming up in my book called Creating Your Greatest Impact. And the question I ask is this: people on the highway of life spend more time looking in the rearview mirror as opposed to the windshield on the highway of living. What say ye? Go. Absolutely. You know, looking in the rearview mirror, you're going to crash. You're going to crash. You're going to burn. You're going to die early. But looking ahead, I'm telling you, nothing but blue skies and nothing but prosperity in your windshield. Oh, man. Give me something hard. Come on. 14.99 seconds. All right. So here we go now. All right. The question I'm asking is simply this: when men fail to be accountable of who they are, what they are, their purpose in life, what do you believe is the number one setback that's causing them to be stuck? Go. Every man can only get to where he's supposed to be in life with being accountable to another man who's experienced and who's already been there. The quickest way to success is through a relationship that is trustworthy, that can walk you to where you're supposed to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, he went over. He went over 15.6. I'm trying to tell you, Doc, right here. That's it. I'm telling you, 15.60 second. But I tell you what, we accredit that 0.60 second to his next interview. All right.
Do my credit, man.
All right. So, Doc, we got the last question for you. The last question for you. A lot of people are talking about its religion. A lot of people are talking about heaven. What do you think is most important for God's creation to live out their best life now? What do you think is most important? Ready and go.
Listen, the scriptures that are most prevalent in the Bible, there's more than 2,350 scriptures in the Bible on how to handle money, how to fulfill your purpose, how to handle your business, but less than 500 verses on prayer, heaven, and faith combined. Money and success is extremely important.
Yes. 19.20 seconds, ladies and gentlemen.
I use too many words, man.
Doc, what happened, man? What happened? But you know what, though? That is great, because that's what I want people to get. That people who are passionate about what they do, who they are, know who they are. It's very difficult to give you a 10-second rebuttal. This is information. He said, out of your belly will come the wisdom. You understand? And so this is why we implement this part on the show, because people got the information, and I want them to understand that this is where you come and get it. Let's tune in to the information that's going to transform your life. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been dripping this bio all the way through. We have read through all of the bio, but we didn't give it to you all at the front. We drip it through so you can understand who we're speaking with and the person, the caliber individual that we're hanging out with. I'm going to shut it down, Doc, but what I want to do, I want to give you the absolute last word, but I'm going to let people know where they can find you again. I'm speaking with Dr. Robert J. Watkins. You can find him. He is a best-selling author of Never Chase a Paycheck Again. It's on Amazon. Get out there and get your copy. There's several other books that he has done. And I'm going to give you a little bit more about some of these books here that you need to get out there and you need to go get your books. All right. Never Chase a Paycheck Again. How to Hear from God. Be Your Own Boss. Extreme Results, and the recently released Chosen, Becoming the Person You Were Meant to Be. I'm talking, there is so much more knowledge coming out of this gentleman right here, but I want you to go find him out there at www.robertjwatkins.com. You can find him at his consulting company, which has launched over 500 companies and facilitate over $20 million to help people with their startup. It is www.ConquerWorldwide.com, and definitely get out there and check him out on the mentorship program for men. He's helped over 17,000 over the past 10 years, and you are next. I am next, because I am definitely going to be checking out. I went there yesterday, plug in my email, and I got my first email. You need to get over there and get yours too. I ain't wasting no time. Where do you find it? www.theriseofaman.com. Need I say more? I'm going to give him the last word. Doc, I want you to take us out. It's your time. Go ahead. Anything you got, plug, it doesn't matter. Let him know. Go.
Well, I just want to end with this story here, for the people that are out there, is that, I am the least likely person to own anything. I was a C student, but I always wanted to own office buildings. I wanted to own commercial real estate, just to be an example to my community.
Yes.
I never had enough money. I've always came up a little short. And it wasn't until I partnered with someone who believed in my vision. He came, I had the vision, and he had resources, and we came together, we partnered, and then something great happened. Mm-hmm. And now I do own my first piece of real estate that is outside of the residential property. And I want to say for those who feel like they're stuck, for those who feel like they can't get to that level of wealth, I'm telling you, it's there. Yes. Just do the principles we talked about. Partner. Listen to this great podcast over and over again. Follow Andrew. Follow his page, and get the knowledge. And what's going to happen when it's your time? You're going to be prepared, and you're going to have all these things we talked about: not being selfish, sowing a seed, being vulnerable, being real, and looking at the things you do have and not the things you don't have. And you're going to be in a great position to see your name on a title that you own. And I declare ownership over your life right now. Where you can find me also on social media is Robert J. Watkins on Instagram and YouTube, Robert J. Watkins, as well as Facebook. And I look forward to connecting with you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a slice. It has been an amazing conversation. I'm looking forward to everything that's going to happen after this. And listen, as we always say, keep listening, stay ready. Talk soon. This is Andrew E. Guy and Dr. J. Watkins with the Ilirpodcast. Take care of yourself. Until then, peace. Until next time, keep listening, live ready, talk soon.